Welcome, this is AG44, and today I'm going to do a walkthrough of what a casual speedrun of Marble It Up could look like. If you've seen my most recent commentary video of Space Kitten's run, it shows you really how much potential the speedrun category has for full game runs of Marble It Up. But if you're a new player who just wants to get into the game, obviously I would recommend play through the game, enjoy all the levels and all the fun content that's in there. But if you want to take it a little step further and try your own RTA run, this video is for you. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a full playthrough of the game without taking any risks, without taking necessarily the fastest routes or the most difficult ways to beat the game, obviously, and even taking some time penalties to do safe strategies and to see what kind of speedrun we can have using the basic strategies of the game. And so I'm not sure really quite how long this is going to be because this is my first time really attempting this. Hopefully I don't make a bunch of mistakes despite the fact that I'm trying to take it easy. But let's get started, and hopefully we can even do this in under an hour. But we'll see. Currently the world record for the fastest speedrun is 34 minutes and 42 seconds, I believe, by Space Kitten 97. My personal best is 43 minutes and 31 seconds. I'm not going to do it that fast, but hopefully I'll do it nice and clean. So let's see where this will take us. Hopefully it'll take us with my microphone fully attached. Alright, Chapter 1. So the Marble It Up full game category starts as soon as we press start on learning to roll, and it finishes when you finish Stratosphere. So if you haven't beaten the whole game yet, if you haven't beaten Stratosphere yet, you can still watch this if you want to. Make sure you do that before you attempt a speedrun. And maybe when you already do a speedrun, you could even follow along with this walkthrough to help you learn how to do it yourself. Alright, let's begin. So obviously when you're speedrunning, you want to jump as much as you can. Rolling is good for maintaining control. Learning to turn, we just go straight into it like this. Even if you're not good at the fastest strategy, you can always follow one of these. Cactus does not have the world record in the full game category right now. That was beaten by Space Kitten just a couple of days ago. Now you should be more or less familiar with these routes. For Chapter 1, and for all of them, we're basically following a natural path of the levels, and using the knowledge that we have to make some of these levels a little bit easier than they normally would be for a casual runner who doesn't know the solution. Okay, for Up the Wall, you can go all the way around this, but I find it much easier to just bounce into this wall and jump over. And that might be something you want to practice a few times before you attempt a run. Now, super jump, you need to know how to jump and super jump at almost exactly the same time to get the most height. For full speed ahead, speedrunners will normally bounce off that rock, but just because we're making this as painless and easy as possible to see what kind of speedrun time we can get out of this, we're just going to go the whole route. And if you want to learn a faster route, by all means go ahead, and you could find yourself with a faster time than I'm ending up with right here. Gonna dodge around these rocks. I'm actually making a few intentional slowdowns, maybe even you could call them intentional errors, just because I want to make sure that I'm not going any faster than a first-time runner would be able to on some of these levels. rolling around, nothing fancy. One jump per platform. Oh. You'll definitely come up with a few of those bumps and small errors as you're playing. Again, just a couple of jumps and you're well on your way. And that, whoops, I didn't need to restart the timer there. I don't really know how to fix that, honestly. So it looks like my timer is gone, and I don't really know how long it took. Yeah, just following this casual speedrun. I might have to go back and edit in a brand new timer. For transit, if you haven't practiced this before, I recommend you do this a couple times before we get started. Just an easy jump across here. The timing is not tight at all for that. The angle is not particularly precise. And one of my goals for this is to take away some of the intimidation that you might feel at approaching a full game speedrun, because going fast and doing tricks is, you know, it can be, it can have a lot of challenges. You can see the skip I did right there takes no effort at all, unless you're trying to rush it, which, you know, most speedrunners do, but for your first attempt, your first couple attempts of a full game speedrun, there's no reason for you to do that. Now, bump in the night, there's a few ways to do this. The easiest way is to jump right on top. And even if you get knocked off, you can restart the level and try again. I said this is the easiest way to do it, and it is. It's just not the way that I've practiced and built into my own muscle memory. Garden wall, just like the world record runs. We're going to keep to the left side. Bounce along. It's okay if you bump, it's okay if you slow down. Just aim toward the goal. There you go. Okay, so for wave pool, you'll want to learn a route of some kind. This is one of the standard routes that runners do. No real tricks involved here. It doesn't matter if you pick up those time travels at all. They do not affect your run. You're just going to jump up here. And follow the gems. So as a reminder, it does look like I'm 3 minutes into the run, but I'm actually 3 minutes into the run plus chapter 1. And chapter 1, I'm guessing, took me around 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Of course, Big Easy, just going to point yourself downhill. Try to stay in the middle for the most part. You've done this level at all casually on its own. The real-time attack is no different. Now, I'm not going to take any real risks here, but if I jump and then hit the feather fall just like that, it's actually very forgiving. This is another one I'd say even a casual speedrunner should be trying it. So yeah, go for that. There are a lot of different routes on this particular level, being triple divide. But again, I'm most interested in showing you the simplest way of getting it in real time from the start to the finish. So you notice I picked up that super jump there, and that's going to help at the end. I could jump from here all the way to the end, but since I don't have enough speed, I'll just roll into place. Thread the needle. Not really cutting any corners here. This is worth practicing if you'd like. Because again, you're jumping and super jumping at almost exactly the same time. The jump and then a super jump right after. Now you can take this and follow around the natural route. I'm going to do something that takes just about the same amount of time and jump, super jump all the way up to this platform. And I'll take a few small time losses to explain things along the way because this is a casual speedrun. Okay, wait for them to line up, and you should be able to get through both and finish Chapter 2. Sugar Rush, now you should know, for real-time attack runners, we take Sugar Rush, we go all the way to here, and we turn around and we go backwards. But there's no reason that you would need to incorporate that in your first few speedruns. So just play it safe and go all the way around the level in the intended route. And as you can see, it doesn't take that long. Elevator Action is another one with some really fancy speedrun routes. But for this purpose, we're just going to grab this gem here and jump off the edge. This is going to save you time in your first couple of attempts versus trying to do the fastest strategy, which is, of course, using the quarter pipes to launch yourself all the way up to these gems. And yeah, practice this one once or twice. You'll get the hang of it pretty quickly for this strategy. Grab the gem, just roll and jump, and you should bounce right up to this final gem. Again, practice it a couple times before your first try. And elevator action is pretty simple. Now, one technique that you should know as a speedrunner is a natural bounce. Natural bounce is basically any time you're heading towards the floor and you release the control stick, or you release W, A, S, and D, so that when you bounce, when you hit the ground, you always bounce instead of sliding. And that'll help you slow down on steep slopes, like on Speedball. Icy Ascent, this one's pretty easy to learn. Just take this super speed up to the quarter pipe. Again, there are faster ways to do it, but this way will get you a good enough time for sure. Now, your key whenever you're doing a casual speedrun or when you're just learning any new speedrun category is to take it easy. You want to set yourself a benchmark of a clean personal best with basic strategies that you can build on and improve on as you learn new strategies. Take your time. The more you rush, the more mistakes you're going to make. And that goes for any speed game. Now, it's possible to jump up here, but even if you don't do that, you can always jump across here and save a couple seconds. Take you to the goal. Off kilter, we're going to do some jumping along the way, try to build up speed, but we're not going to be going for the skip. It still is a little tricky to control this, but if you've done it before, you shouldn't have much trouble. Try to learn these jump spacings so that you don't have to worry about hitting those ledges, but if you do, it's not a big deal. Here we just use this jump pattern. Get down, get the two gems on the bottom first. Get up here. Again, we're going to use a jump, super jump. Oh. I was exaggerating how you super jump after the jump, so I didn't get enough height, but... pulling around here, and there's the goal. Totally tubular. This one's pretty fun. You'll definitely want to practice this because I know in my first number of speedruns, I failed it all the time. Now I only fail it occasionally. This one sent me way too far off to the right, but that's okay. I was holding onto that feather fall so I can use it and hopefully get the save. Yeah, you prefer to go straight and to go a little bit lower, and you'll base the timing of your feathered fall based on how high you're going. So just follow this route for time capsule, pretty simple. You can totally ignore time travels along the way. And if you want to do something fancy, you can try to pop up there, otherwise just climb the ramp. Pog Valley. If you've seen any speedruns of this, you know Pog Valley, which is the skip that gets you all the way to the end very quickly. But on your first speedrun, unless you've practiced that already quite a lot for individual levels, you're not going to be taking that kind of risk. And as you learn that, as you practice it, you'll also learn the backups and what to do when things go wrong. And sometimes you can save even a failed attempt at the skip to get a pretty decent time even without the skip. Alright. Bumper Invasion is also pretty much the same. Oh, well, that's embarrassing. It's also pretty much the same as what most people do for individual levels. Maybe not the world record speedruns. You can ignore the time travels. Right across this ice platform. Obviously, all of these routes that I'm showing you right now are assuming a certain level of competence in this game. And so if you don't have a lot of experience with this game, it's okay that you may not get everything on the first try, even some of these simple routes and maneuvers. That's fine. Lots of players have been playing for years, and we still make the little mistakes and the big mistakes as well. Don't get me wrong, we get those wrong too. You can take pretty much, for a casual speedrun, you can take pretty much any of these grade routes, practice them. What I will say is the easiest way to complete this level at all is do a little trick here. We're just going to jump up against the rock and then use the super speed. And it's very consistent. Practice that a couple times before you get started. And jump super jump if you want to skip to the second layer. Here's Sunspire. Again, really important. Until you've practiced these kind of thing, and until you have a little bit of experience, rushing is your enemy. That is going to be the number one way. The number two way, and the number three way that you're going to be losing time is rushing. And if you rush too much, every time you rush, you're going to end up feeling some kind of consequence. So, I know it's a speed run, but at the same time, until you've gotten some experience and gotten some practice in it, anytime you spend rushing, catch up is just going to be laden with mistakes. Very simple. I'm not even necessarily going for all the diamond times on this. What I'm going to show you, or what I'm trying to show you, is the most consistent ways to get past the level, to just get it done. Notice how I held the jump button down? That's basic skill in this game as I'm going up the quarter pipe. And I am mashing the A button, or for a lot of people that would be the space bar. If you're playing on keyboard and mouse, at the end of every level, so that I can kind of skip the looking at the leaderboards. I'm going to hang left here early so that I can use the curvature to get me back on course. And slow down here. I don't need to go up for that time travel at all. That would be a waste of my time. Again, I'm hanging left here so that I can use the curvature to send me back in the right direction. Playing this super safe. Again, if you want to hang left here really early, you can. You have a risk of getting pushed off like this. I haven't practiced the casual route for this in a long time, but you know what? You just saw that I respawned at a checkpoint, and that's why you shouldn't stress out about these things too much. Checkpoints are everywhere on most of these levels, and I'll try to point out if there's a significant level that doesn't have checkpoints where you need to be extra careful. But yeah, make sure you pick up those checkpoints if they're there. First couple runs, don't worry if you don't make the fastest possible cycle here. It's easy to get up. It's easy to get down. Just keep it safe. As they say in many industries, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Eventually you will get to the point where you can do it smooth and fast. But until then, keep at it. Keep it smooth and get faster. Don't keep it fast and get smoother. That's probably a better way for me to put it. It's a good place to practice controller turning if you're familiar with that technique. Otherwise, you know, it doesn't save you any significant time in the context of a casual full game speedrun. Take care not to jump when you're touching these rails, obviously, because that will be the same as jumping on a slope, and that will send you off sideways. Dire straights, you don't have to follow necessarily my jump pattern. You can go back there and use the super jump, or if you're ready to play it safe, come this way. But if you are playing it safe, don't rush it. Don't try to race the basher to a point. Just wait for it to pass in front of you. Those 3 seconds that you would save in an individual level run by beating the cycle might be significant, but in this casual full game race, full game speedrun, it is not significant at all. Okay, Ex Machina. Honestly, I don't know about this one. I'm not really sure how to do this one casually. So I'm not sure I can be all that helpful to you. However, this is the strategy I use and the one I find consistent. If you want to... yeah, see, I even messed that one up. And I messed it up pretty badly. But again, that just kind of shows you how prevalent these checkpoints are. And, you know, if you fall off and you respawn at a checkpoint, or even if you respawn at the beginning of the level, it's not a big deal. I'm actually kind of glad I fell off there because I don't know, I didn't really know a casual strategy to show you, so hopefully that gave you a little bit of time to catch up if you were playing along and fell behind because of a couple of small mistakes here and there. Here on Diamond in the Sky, I'm making pretty heavy use of those natural bounces that I talked about. Natural bounces, just release the control stick, and no matter what angle you're approaching from, no matter what your speed is, you will bounce instead of rolling or sliding. And that slows you down. And you definitely want to know how to slow down. You need to know when to slow down, obviously. If you know how to slow down, then when you do know that you need to slow down, you'll always be able to do it just fine. Just maintaining as much control as I can here, keeping it smooth. It's much better to do it a little bit slower than to fall off 2 or 3 times. And believe me, I have fallen off on this level. I've fallen off on every level. I've definitely died and failed every level in this game because I was rushing. And not to say that I'm the most skilled player in the game, but I've also gotten all of the most difficult tricks in my routes with on the first try. So not all of them on the first try, but each of them on separate tries. I've gotten them all first try, so I know the faster routes, but even when I'm just feeling a little bit of pressure and I'm rushing too much, you can fail on any level of this game, and that's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. In fact, as long as you stay calm and you keep the run going, you should be totally fine. Arky. This is one possible route that you can follow. It is one of the simpler routes, I believe. Okay, I'm gonna get up here. I'm gonna use my feather fall to get up here, and you can practice that once or twice before you do your first run. There are a lot of routes on this one, and kind of like not off kilter, but Ex Machina, I don't really know a whole lot of different routes. So this is just one route that you can learn. Staying alive, really easy level, at least from a speedrunner's perspective. Yeah, I definitely fell off and got knocked off by the bashers a bunch of times too the first time that I played through this game. I'm pretty sure everyone has died on this level at some point. But in a real-time attack speedrun, there's no reason to really extend yourself or take any risks. You don't have to go out of your way to try to get any of the time travels. I'd say the best strategy for this is just to get in as close to the basher as you can, so that by the time it comes back, or maybe not in this case, by the time it comes back, it's already past you, or you're already past it. Same thing here. I get in close to it as it passes me by. And then this one, I know from memory that I can get here. Pretty casual. It doesn't take very much attention once you know the patterns. I don't even really have to look at them. But hopefully you're able to get through this no problem. I have seen a couple of players fail this finish because they were rushing to cut off an extra half of a second off of their time. It is not worth it, trust me. Okay. Now, the strategy for Gordian is very easy to remember. Just turn left. At the start, you turn left. After every platform, you turn left. And just roll along at a smooth, consistent speed. It's okay if you don't get that on the first try. Just once you're done, turn left. Going up. And off to the finish. Simple level, pretty boring for this one. Now there are a lot of different techniques that you can use on the ice to keep yourself from going in the direction you don't want to. The simplest method, although it's not always the most effective, but it's quite reliable, is to just keep jumping, because your mid-air movement is stronger than your ability to move on the ice. So if I keep jumping, I can influence the direction I'm moving in mid-air. What's a simple way to finish this? Yeah, this is probably the simplest and easiest way. There are a couple of other routes which are also, you know, very consistent if you practice them a couple of times. And you can learn those later. For now, you're just learning the easiest way to do this. Okay, contraption. Lots of moving parts here. We can fortunately ignore all these time travels. You can get up there just in time, but instead we're going to go back this way so that we're moving in the same direction as the platform when we jump onto it. It's okay if you don't always get everything on your first try. Move into place and jump to the goal. Uphill both ways, another level with lots of ice. So when you're on the ice, try to keep yourself moving slowly, and try to stay in the air as much as you can, so that you don't have to worry about the traction on the ice as much. Okay. Now this is pretty easy to learn. You just step onto this area and use a super speed. You can reach this gravity platform. We're gonna jump down, keep it simple, and roll up to this super jump. Now, of course, you can use these bumpers to get up to the top, but you know what? A lot of us have failed runs that way, especially me. I've definitely failed a couple of runs that way because I was off target and it sent me right off the side of the level. So take the simple route, and then once you get a decent time, then you can do it better. This is the route that, oh, I guess not. I'm playing so so slowly and casually, I'm forgetting how to do it. I'll just show you the route that all of the top runners use, and I can't even do it. My controller's not working. Okay. Using a natural bounce there to slow down. This is what I would consider to be the simplest route. You do have to keep up with the cycles. It is possible that if you're going too slowly that you're not going to make it. But if you practice that, you know, several times, that start before the before you do a run, and once you learn it, you won't forget it. Much more lenient time. So we're going to jump onto here, and we're going to hit this specific part of the rock to finish that level. It is definitely possible that on Flip the Table you're going to have a little more trouble. You might fall off a few times. That's okay. You don't have to restart the level just because you fell off. Vertigo, I know I'm doing this a little more smoothly than somebody who doesn't have very much experience going, but I do just want to make sure that you can see I am taking this nice and slowly. It is nice to be able to use a controller because I can put slight inputs into the control stick to go in the direction I want to go. For a casual speedrun, you will lose a lot more time than you're hoping to save by rushing this. um, a lot more time. Taking it easy, taking it slowly, and just following the path that doesn't require you to jump is going to be your best bet when you're just starting out speedrunning this level. I could finish here, but I don't want to rush it. I'm going to take it easy. Wait for the easiest and available opening, and roll straight through the finish. Now, could I have done that 30 seconds faster? Yes. As a first-time casual runner, could you? Probably not, so don't try. You will have plenty of time to learn those kinds of strategies. Warp Core. This is one that's definitely worth taking some time to learn. I fell off there because I was distracted trying to think of what the best casual strategy would be. But honestly, I think this strategy, because it's... I won't say it's super easy. I'll admit that I didn't do a lot of preparations for this video and trying to find casual strategies for all of these levels, but this is one of the levels that is definitely important that you learn a strategy. And unfortunately, it doesn't have any checkpoints. This is what I get for trying to do my normal strategy more slowly than normal, is that I'm not used to the cycle. And it's totally okay if you fall off a few times. That's kind of something to be expected in your first few runs, for sure. I mean, we all fall off every time, but most of the times that I die or another speedrunner dies is on the riskier strategies, which this wouldn't normally count as one of them. On the simpler strategies, it's still okay to fail a few times. That is not a big deal. You will be able to just take that time and take the time that you lost and beat it on your next attempt to set a new PB. Oops. Not overcommitting to any of these jumps, because I don't want to have to redo them. I'd rather fail a little bit short so that if I miss, I can try it again right away. This one, again, just taking the natural route. Taking the simplest route I can find. Oops. And that gets me to the end of Chapter 5, and I guess what would have been about 35, less than 40 minutes. Whoa! Yeah, this is another one of those levels that I've practiced so much quickly that I'm not really sure how to do it slowly. But this will be one of the levels that you're going to need to practice to make sure you're at least a little bit comfortable with it before your first attempt. Just try to beat it in under 2 minutes or something like that. We do this trick here, which is pretty simple. You can get hit by that little thing there, so if you're not confident enough in that, then you can go around it the long way, but it's a pretty easy time save that doesn't add much risk. Gotta jump over these. And there are ways that again, I'm trying to fight my speedrunner's instincts here to do this really quickly and the way that I'm used to. But you don't have to learn all of the competitive speedrun routes in order to do a speedrun. That's absolutely not going to be required, and I wouldn't even necessarily encourage it. If you're new to this game, some of the routes that the runners are doing are very hard, and they're only able to do them consistently because they've been playing this game for hundreds or thousands of hours. Whoa! I haven't done this route in a long time. And you know what? That's probably going to happen to you as well. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. You shouldn't worry about it. I'm a little worried about it. I should be able to do this better than this, but you know what? You're often going to feel like you're making mistakes that you shouldn't be making, and you know what? You're not alone in that. Everyone feels that way. The world record holder feels that way. I feel that way. Every runner of this game and every speedrunner of most games, we all make mistakes that we should know better. And we all make mistakes that we shouldn't be making. That is totally normal. And the less you stress out about it, the better your final times are going to be. I'm going to follow a pretty easy route for Platinum Playground. This one, it's not super important that you have a route set in stone, because the gems are pretty well spread out. There are some routes that are more optimized than others, but until you're really looking into saving time off of your less optimized PBs and trying to make them really optimized, I wouldn't worry too much about the route on this level. If you follow the one I'm doing right now, which is pretty straightforward, that will be more than good enough. And if you fall off there, there's backups you can learn as you go. But here we go. I like to do a little trick here where I launch up to the top. But instead, I'm going to do it this way. Whee! Just bouncing up, and I didn't give this a lot of foresight because I'm not showing you the tricks. The easiest way to get these wall ones is to use the super speed straight up the wall and try to land on the gems. And that actually gives you quite a lot of control as you're in the air. And you just use a super speed and a jump there to get up here pretty easily, and then I'll go to the finish. Not all that fast, but you know what? Not all that slow either. Radius is going to be one of those levels that's just hard to finish. And that's what Chapter 6 has. It has levels that are just straight up hard to do. And so, until you've really practiced it, like most levels, the best strategy you can employ is to wait. Take your time. Make sure you see where you're going. Make sure you see where the moving platforms are going to be. And I'm really just strolling through this level at the moment. Try to follow these gravity platforms all the way to the right as they're going, because that'll get you in the best gravity. The finish here is another one where taking it slowly and taking your time is definitely worth it. Don't ever just super jump. You want to jump and super jump. You can spread them out a little bit if you don't want too much height. That would bounce you around quite a lot. Here we go. I landed. I'm taking it easy. I'm taking it slow. Jump across, and I get to the finish. You don't have to die on Radius just because you're not super familiar with it. It's worth it to take the extra 30 seconds even to take your time. Head in the Clouds is a pretty technical level, but it's also a level that's based on memorization. This is one that if you aren't familiar with it, you'll definitely need to practice at some point. No, I fell off. But you know what? There is a checkpoint here. Trying to do this again at a casual and leisurely pace. um, and not having the muscle memory for actually doing that. And that's okay. There are a few different patterns here. I'll show you the ones that I'm most familiar with. Jump across, jump across, jump across. Now, if I were going really fast, I would take this cycle, but instead, I'm just going to wait for the cycle that I'm most... Alright, we're going to cut that out of the video. Or not, but... kind of feel like it. Whoa! Well, you think that I have never played this level before. But I have, and I'm familiar with enough with it that I almost never fall off on this in my own runs. Just again, having my attention divided into showing you an easier way to do it versus doing it the way that I'm used to. Alright. Yeah. Wait. Ooh. Okay, centripetal force. You really have to keep your eyes open here because all these platforms are moving. If you want to jump here. Now, it's possible to get that gem on that cycle, but just because it was a bit of a stretch, I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to do it. It was much better for me to wait. Because on centripetal force, what goes around comes around, and when you relax on this one, and just remember that, you know what, you miss a cycle on a gem, it's okay, it will come back to you. Just wait and, you know, try to get off the ice before you jump across, so you can have some traction. And you'll find a path to the goal very easily. Rushing this level is one of the biggest run killers in this category. And by this level, I was referring to centripetal force. Now, you've probably seen the escalation skips, all the kickflips, all the cool things you can do here. I'm not going to be doing any of that. Because for your first run, unless you've actually done kickflip strategies before in individual levels, that's something you're going to want to learn later. It is an advanced technique, and you don't have to be an advanced player to do a real-time attack speedrun. These sections, I haven't done them very many times, obviously, honestly, because I've been doing kickflips for so long. But more or less just keep jumping. It's better to keep jumping on over these gaps than it is otherwise. For here, we're jumping, and if you jump off of all of those platforms around the middle, you should be able to get over them, and then the other ones will lower. Take it easy here. Take it easy. Anywhere there looks like you're a little bit uncomfortable, take it slow. Here you need to have at least a certain minimum speed, otherwise these are going to flip back up on you. But as long as you're moving smoothly, as long as you're moving steadily, you should be able to make it in time. Here, I find it easier to jump across these three on the far side than jumping back and forth, but that's just me. Now, I don't actually remember ever doing this without the kickflip. I'm sure I've done it before. I kind of forget how, but if you've played through this game before, you've probably done it, and hopefully you remember how to do this better than I do. But it worked out. Just ride the elevator to the top. And you can see we're approaching the pretty close to the end of this run, and with a number of mistakes, a number of errors, a number of deaths, but just following the simplest strategies, we're only at 45 minutes. Alright, so here we're going to drop off and make sure that we're bouncing up into this area. This is going to be honestly, there are a couple tricks along the way for Confluence, but this is the simplest strategy for finishing Confluence, and it is the strategy that all of the experienced runners use at the moment, maybe with a couple of tweaks to speed it up. But if you want to learn a simple and consistent strategy for Confluence, memorize this. And you do have to memorize it, because if you forget it, you could end up losing minutes off this run. And so you might want to go back and rewatch that one a few times just to learn the Olympus strategy. Or not the Olympus strategy, rather, but the Confluence strategy. And practice it over a few times. That's one of... that's what I would say is the number one level that you need to practice before you attempt your first speedrun. Olympus. Now, Olympus is a real pain in the butt. It is totally, completely okay if you fall off here. Everyone falls off on Olympus. That is okay. It is the hardest level to do consistently in a speedrun. I almost died there, and I was trying to play it safe. There's a couple things you might want to remember here. One is those natural bounces. I'm not doing them at the moment because I don't need to slow down. But if you want to play it safe, you want to be slow in certain sections, for sure. And so just release your control stick to the neutral position, or release W, A, S, and D when you're about to hit the floor. And you will do a natural bounce, just like this. Got to be careful in some of these sections. Oh no, I'm gonna fall off. That's too bad. But you know what? Again, it happens to everyone. It's Olympus. And even if I were being a little bit more careful, it still very well could have happened to me. Alright. This one should be safe, yeah. You'll get to know the safer bumps and the safer angles over time, but even then, you can't always control the direction of your marble on Olympus because of just the way that all of the curves go. I know from previous experience that this ramp is safe for me if I aim it off to the left. And the checkpoints on Olympus are almost impossible to miss. So as long as you make it to the next checkpoint, you haven't lost much, even if you do fall off. Here I'm going to release the control stick and do some natural bounces because I was going a little further off to the right than I wanted there, and I wanted to lose some speed. And there we go. 2 minutes and 36 seconds. You aren't always going to get that. I don't necessarily know what the easiest method is for Tangle. This is the easiest method that I've found. I definitely find it significantly easier than the natural route that the developers expect you to be able to find. Here I went to that checkpoint and I fell off, and you'll have to go back and see what angle I approach it at. I can do this a lot faster, but instead I'm just going to do it as smoothly as I can. Now I'm back at this checkpoint and I have this gem. But the difference is I have a super jump. So I do a small jump, super jump here. Oh, I missed it. That's okay because I have a checkpoint here that I can get. Just pick up the gem once again. This may not be the easiest method of Tangle for you, but it is the simplest one that I know how to teach. Alright, and then I'm just going to roll bounce up to the goal. Not perfectly fast, but definitely okay. Now here, when I'm going off this ramp, I'm not going to jump at all. The simplest way to do this is to hold the power up button and roll off those ramps so we can go around the loop. Don't worry about doing a loop exit or anything like that, or a loop skip. That could come later if you get some experience, and you want to learn the fastest way to do this. Alright, Stratosphere. Now, I haven't done this one normally in a long time. One of the nice things about real-time attack on levels like Stratosphere is you can totally ignore those time travels, so you don't have to worry about taking risks to go out of your way for them. Once again, just like all those other ramps with the feather falls on them, I'm not jumping on the ramp. I'm just holding down the power up button and rolling off. I just got a time travel there, but it did not matter. I can totally ignore it. Keep going through here on pretty full speed. And whoa there. I missed that. I could fall off just to go back to the checkpoint, but instead I'm going to try to jump onto this. No, that didn't work for me. Oh, this time it did. Okay. Falling off on Stratosphere can be really, really annoying because of the amount of time it takes you to fall. If you do fall off, you're going to be falling for a long time before you get to respawn. So just a trick, if you do fall off, hold sideways so that you go out of bounds in the sideways direction and you won't have to fall quite as far. Take this part nice and easy. You notice I was slowing down even as I was going around that last loop. And keep your eyes open here because you don't necessarily know what pattern you're going to get for the crystals. And, you know, that was pretty bad. Pretty bad for me. But you know what? That's okay. Even though it was the very end of the run, and that's how it is. Okay, going around once again. This time I know at least where the crystals are going to be. I can jump over that one. Take it to the finish here. You're holding forward, but you're not holding forward the whole time. You definitely want to pull back at some point so that you get over here and finish the run. Alright. Timer says 51:45, but because I had a timer mistake on chapter 1, so add on to that 50. Add on that about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, and you have something pretty close to a 55-minute run. So 55-minute run, and so that's without doing any strategies that I would consider to be particularly risky. I know that I actually did a strategy that takes a little bit of practice on Warp Core, just because I didn't know any other strategies. And I know I also did a strategy that takes some practice on Flip the Table. But if you're interested in speedrunning, I really recommend that you check those out for yourself. Maybe try those exact routes. Again, those are the simplest routes that I know. There may in fact be a slightly simpler route for Warp Core, but man, that level's confusing. Yes, even for someone like me, I've played you know, my 600 hours and leveled up. I still don't know what's going on in that level unless I'm following the route that I already know. So if you just follow the natural paths, I hope you're convinced now, or you understand now, that you can get a time that you'll be proud and happy to put on the leaderboards. Even with as many deaths and mistakes as I made during that run, I kept it smooth, I kept it simple. I didn't set a PB because I know that my PB, for me to beat my PB, it's going to require more difficult strategies than this. And eventually yours will too. Eventually you'll get to the point where you're able to do all of these strategies consistently. And it may not take very long. It may only take 2 or 3 runs to build your confidence. And you'll realize, hey, I can start going for some more difficult strategies. I can start taking a few risks, trying to do things a little bit quicker. And then you'll be pushing your time down below 50 minutes, maybe even down below 45 or 40. And, you know, by the time you're hooked on RTA, you might be competing for world record runs. Who knows? So thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy the video. Feel free to go back and rewind the video and see whatever it is that you want to see again, so you can practice those routes. And again, I'm not saying you need to practice every level before an RTA speedrun. This is just showing you that there are a few levels you should practice and would be helpful to practice, but you can definitely do it. If you've played through the game, beaten most of the diamond times, or all of the diamond times preferably, that's helpful for most people. So that you are familiar with the controls, familiar with the physics, familiar with the techniques and things like that. And yeah, this sub 1 hour time is very accessible if you take it easy. If you want to start learning the super hard strategies now, the difficult strategies, the risky strategies that are going to get you a 35-minute time someday, that's okay, but it's going to take you a lot longer to learn the basics of the speedrun. So I would recommend for most new runners, any new runners who are joining the RTA community, especially if you don't have extensive speedrun experience or extensive experience with Marble Up in the hundreds of hours. But even if you do, learn the basics of the speedrun. Get yourself a PB that is relatively clean, and that you can say, okay, this is a good benchmark for me to improve over time by improving my strategies, improving my execution, and just for doing it faster overall, instead of going for a bunch of difficult strategies and having a run that's mostly filled with deaths, but you know, you get some of the hard strategies. And you'll have those. You'll definitely have those. Even now with my PB in 43 minutes and 31 second territory, I could still get a really bad run that goes longer than this one, actually, just by missing the difficult strategies that I'm used to doing, but maybe not quite getting it, and having a bad day of speedrunning. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to see a really fast speedrun that you haven't seen yet, watch my commentary of Space Kitty's world record speedrun in 34 minutes and 42 seconds, which I'll have linked in the video description. Thanks.